All right, we're finally here, UFC 308. We're finally at an exciting UFC card, and it happens to be either the second or first most stacked card this year, I would think. Tied or a little bit ahead of 300, I would think. I think 300 is a little bit ahead, but depending on how this card goes, it could definitely be better. But I'm going to be going over the main card in this video, not the prelims, even though they are very good, and I'll be watching all of them. We're going over the main card on who I think is going to win. And then we're starting off with Shar Magomedov versus Armen Petrosian. I like Shar Magomedov. What he did with if you guys don't know, he beat the shit out of some guy for kissing his wife in public. So his character is a little flawed, I would say. A lot of that side of the area of that area of place is a little bit flawed in my opinion. But Shara is very fun to watch, and he's a very fun style. He is very technically sound striking and has a lot of output, a lot of wild shit, a lot of wild kicks. Armen Petrosian likes to tip for tat on the outside, and Shar Magomedov is, I think he's one of the best at doing that in the UFC right now. I do think Shar Magomedov is beatable, but not from Armen Petrosian. Shar Magomedov is undefeated. He's doing very well in the UFC so far against horrible fighters, but Bruno Silva isn't that bad, and I like Shar Magomedov's momentum and his striking, and I think he's gonna beat the shit out of Armen. Armen doesn't have grappling enough to utilize it against Shara, and Shara's striking is night and day. So next, so I'll go finish. I'll go knockout round, early round three, because Shara kind of takes a minute to do any damage, it seems. So yeah, next, Lerone Murphy versus Danny Ige. Okay, so this matchup is not looking super good for Danny Ige considering his record, but I do think Danny Ige is going to win this one against Lerone Murphy. I think he will be able to bring Lerone Murphy into his world of being a little bit of a dogfight, and I don't think Lerone Murphy's been there. Lerone Murphy's very good. He's undefeated. He's very good at keeping the fight where he wants it. He did it with Edson. He's done it with a lot of people. His win against Edson is very impressive. But Danny Ige, I have a feeling Danny Ige is going to be able to bring it into his world. And I don't think Lerone Murphy is going to be able to handle the pressure at a certain point. I think Danny Ige has great finishing potential. He has a no-quit ability to move forward, and he did very good in his last fight against Diego Lopez on 4 hours' notice. Diego Lopez is great. It was very short notice for Diego Lopez too, but I do think Danny Ige has what it takes to beat Lerone. I think the odds are correct. I do think Lerone Murphy should win this, but I have a feeling Danny Ige will. So yeah, well I guess we'll see. But yeah, I think Danny Ige's got this probably by decision. I don't think he finishes Lerone Murphy, or if he does, it'll be a late cardio malfunction by Lerone, and Danny Ige is still going forward. So yeah, that's what I think is going to happen in that one. Next is Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic. Oh shit, this one is very even for me. Very, very, very hard to pick. But I'm going to pick the underdog of Alexander Rakic. I think that this will be a decision that Rakic gets the upper hand in. Magomed is very good. They're pretty much. It's really hard to pick this fight. Magomed obviously has the advantage in the grappling. I think Rakic has like crazy big tree trunk legs, and he'll be really hard to take down. I don't see Magomed taking him down and holding him down. I think it'll be on the cage if Magomed's grappling is going to be utilized at all. I think Alexander Rakic has a mean low kick, which has troubled Magomed in the past. Their striking is pretty even, but I think Rakic has an edge in technique, while Magomed probably has an edge in power. This fight is really hard to pick, but I think Rakic will be able to utilize the low kick, strike a little bit more efficiently, and I think he's going to be able to get this one done by decision. It's hard to pick against Magomed here because he's been so solid and beat so many people. But I think that Rakic, he was doing fucking perfect. Literally perfect against Yuri until Yuri bullshitted his way through that fight and caught Rakic. I'm wondering, the big question for me is if Ankalaev can take the amount of damage Yuri did from the leg in the legs and still truck forward like Yuri. And I'm wondering, is Rakic just incapable of doing any damage? Because Pereira did do damage against Yuri in the leg kick department, but it's between either thinking Pereira is a fucking monster or bringing down Rakic and saying that he can't do any damage at all. But I think that I'm going to go with Pereira as a fucking demon. And I think that Rakic will be able to hurt Magomed in the legs. I think that his striking will be a little bit more efficient and technical and crisp. And I think he will keep it on the feet enough to be able to decision out Magomed Ankalaev on the feet. I think that it'll be an upset. I think that if Rakic does win, Pereira just goes up to heavyweight. I don't think they do that fight. If Magomed wins, they definitely make Pereira versus Magomed. So that would be cool. And Magomed could obviously just win easily. It's really just a random. This one is very pick me, but I'm going to go with Alexander Rakic by decision. Yeah, I think so. Next, Robert Whittaker versus Hamzat, the co-main. Big co-main event. The biggest fucking fight ever besides the main event. Okay. I was going with Hamzat. Before Ikram Aliskerov, Robert Whittaker, I was definitely going to go Hamzat just from pure momentum, and Robert is a slow starter. But then Hamzat got sick, and then I started thinking about the Usman performance a little bit more, and then Robert Whittaker knocked out Ikram bad. And now I just think Robert Whittaker is coming in with a certain mindset that he is not going to get finished in this first round. And if he doesn't get finished in this first round, it's a 5-round fight, and Robert Whittaker has been here before. Hamzat Chimaev has never been here, and he struggled with 3-rounders. I think that Robert Whittaker is a little bit just a little level above Hamzat Chimaev in everything but the wrestling, and I don't think Robert Whittaker gets finished by submission in the first or second round. I think Robert has great wrestling. He's been through 3 camps against just wrestlers at this point. He had the first camp for Hamzat, and he had the second camp for Hamzat, and he's had a camp for Romero, and I think he's just solid now in his takedown defense. And he's went to a KO with Ikram, which has given him a lot of spunk, I would think. Give him a lot of confidence. And I do think that Robert Whittaker is going to be able to take this into deep water and probably finish Hamzat. I don't think Hamzat gets out of the 4th. He's cooked after the 3rd in every single one of his fights. The Usman performance was not impressive if you want to convince me that Whittaker is going to not beat your fucking ass. It's what I think about that. You can't have that performance against Usman and not expect Whittaker to just kill you when it comes to the 4th and 5th round. I think Whittaker beats the shit out of Usman. So yeah, I'm definitely taking Robert Whittaker now. I wouldn't be surprised though. I'm not counting Hamzat Chimaev completely out. If Hamzat goes in there, starts throwing crazy, Robert kind of goes back to his slow starting mode, and Hamzat can fucking rip him down. I do think Hamzat has incredible wrestling. And who knows, maybe he has worked on his cardio, but I don't see that being the case. So yeah, I'm going to go with Robert Whittaker by a late finish. Yeah. Next up, Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway, the main event. My most anticipated matchup of this year, I would say. This is one of the only fights I've watched where it is a complete I can't pick a side in this fight. I love both fighters in terms of their entertainment. evenly, I would say. I think that both of them are insanely good at fighting, and this fight is so even it's hard to say. And their entertainment value is through the roof. They're both of the biggest stars in the UFC, but I just think that I'm going to go with, on a whim, this could go either way, I am going to go with Ilia Topuria. And without any promo, I wouldn't know who to pick. But Ilia Topuria has convinced me through promo that he is going to knock out Max Holloway. I'm kind of convinced. He's coming in with a fucking vengeance. He's coming in with an attitude that he is invincible and that he is going to knock out Max. And it worked. It's worked every fucking fight he's ever had. I know that Max is incredibly good and he's never been knocked out. He's been dropped now by Gaethje. Barely, I get it. Barely. But Gaethje is nowhere near the striker Ilia Topuria is. Max Holloway's been hit by many. Arnold Allen was close. Korean Zombie started hitting him up pretty good. Yair hit him up pretty good. If Ilia connects like those guys did, I think it's a different story. Poirier beat the fuck out of Max for a bit. Rocked Max. I don't think Poirier has the technique Ilia does in the striking department. And I think his height will be able to give him a little bit of advantage. Punching down is not something Max Holloway does great. And Ilia Topuria is so good at fighting people that are taller than him. Or just anyone in general. His boxing is perfect. But Max Holloway could easily go in there and just beat the shit out of him. Just dodge everything. We've all seen him done it before, but Max has to eat shots to get in there. Even against Calvin Kattar, he was eating a lot of shots, and I don't think you can do that against Topuria. I just don't think so. And I think that Topuria is going to land. If he wants to wrestle, he will wrestle. And I think that eventually Ilia Topuria is going to finish Max Holloway for the very first time in the second or third round. I think he's going to land. I think Max Holloway is going to kind of get on his horse a little bit, kind of start to get going, start piecing him up, kind of like Volk Ilia. Volk started voluming him, hitting him in the legs, jabbing him, doing better outside movement striking, but I think Max is going to do the same, spinning back kicks, whatever. But when Ilia pins you up against the fence and he is good at doing that, it's hard to get out of there without throwing with him. And then when he makes it a throwing battle, I don't see Max Holloway getting out of that very unscathed. It's hard to say that he'll get flatlined because he's never had it happen before, but I think Ilia will flatline KO Max Holloway in this fight. I have a huge feeling in my gut that second or third round, Topuria is going to throw something mean and hit him bad and knock out Holloway. And I could be just completely wrong. This is such a hard fight to pick. Max Holloway could just beat the shit out of him for all 5 rounds, but there's something in my gut. And Topuria might have brainwashed me, but I just have a feeling Topuria is going to knock him out. All of his talk about the first 10 seconds are going to be the most exciting in UFC history, and that he's going to point down in the first 10 seconds. I love that attitude. First off, if he actually does that, if he points down in the first 10 seconds and just starts throwing, that might be the best moment in UFC history, and he definitely will become one of my favorites after that. But even if that doesn't happen, I think eventually there's a firefight waiting to happen in this fight, and I don't see Max Holloway getting out of it. There's a certain aura behind Ilia that I am falling for in terms of where my pick is going to go. I think I'm going to go with Ilia by knockout, which is hard to say because I love Max, and what he did against Gaethje was like the most hype thing I've ever seen in my life, but I do think Ilia is going to finish him. So yeah, UFC 308, the biggest card of the year probably, takes place this Saturday. I'm very excited. And yeah, Abu Dhabi. I think that's about it. I'll see you soon.